Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Ahmed Mion. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
Hello.
And I know we've talked about Animal Crossing for the past two episodes, but I've got a little more to say. So, sorry if that annoys you. But I finally had KK's slider come to my town, so I feel like I feel like I've sort of gotten the full Animal Crossing experience at this point, and everything past this is just bonus. Where are you guys at with Animal Crossing?
I disagree with you saying that everything after this is bonus, because by the time you get KK Slider, you're pretty much at the starting point of every other game.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
that's really exciting to hear then, because I'd love more Animal Crossing.
However, I have heard a little bit that this Animal Crossing, there's only one thing after KK, and I can't imagine that that'll remain true. I imagine updates have to add buildings or something,
Yeah.
and I think that's generally the consensus, but we don't have any confirmation of that, so I'm a little worried.
Yeah. And like we've mentioned before on the show, that this is my first Animal Crossing, so I'm constantly discovering new things. And I had something, I don't know, pretty traumatic happen to me yesterday playing the game. So I always make sure to talk to each of my villagers and treat them right and be friendly to them. But then out of nowhere, my favorite villager, Marina, the octopus, talks to me and she's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about leaving."
Oh no.
Something about growing into a better octopus.
Did you let her go?
Whatever she said was really cute, but I essentially just begged her to stay, and she said, "Okay, I'll stay." But then I felt bad because she clearly wanted to leave. But I was just wondering why. What have I done wrong?
Not necessarily. If you have a full town, eventually they'll just decide they want to leave, and you can either say yes or no.
What do you guys usually do? Does it depend?
It
Yes.
depends.
She was literally my favorite of the 10 I have.
Yeah, I
And
definitely would have made her stay if she was my favorite. I had Astrid, which is a kangaroo, and I like her a little. If she asks again, I'll probably let her go. But the only time I made her stay this time was because she just moved in. I haven't even had a
That's
chance to
crazy.
get to know her yet. Yeah.
So
She was
I
my
always
most
thought-
recent.
I always thought that the villagers asking to move out was associated with negative things.
It can be, but it can also just happen at random.
I see. Okay, so yeah, I was pretty shook after that happened. Honestly, I'm not
you
gonna
can
lie.
encourage it to happen, but it will happen at random sometimes. I talked to Astrid every day, and she asked if she could move, and I said no. And then I kind of regretted it because one of my friends had a villager moving out that I really wanted to take. And when a villager's in boxes in another town, if you go talk to them, they'll if you talk to them a few times, they'll say they want to move to your town.
In boxes,
And,
you mean if they're moving in?
Moving out.
Moving out, okay.
Yeah, when they move out, they have a day in boxes as well.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm sure at least with one or two of my villagers, if they ask, I'll let them do it just to experience what that's like.
Yeah, and also
Not Marina. Come on.
yeah, no, I'm part of the game is just getting to meet a bunch of new villagers and stuff. So
Yeah. I was wondering the campsite hasn't been used ever since I had someone come in after I first got the campsite.
Yeah, I mean-
since then it hasn't been used at all,
same.
which is
That's weird.
unfortunate.
Yeah,
I guess
but
it's only for new villagers.
yeah, but it doesn't you can have a full town and still have somebody randomly show up at your campsite. It just isn't a constant thing.
I see. Okay. Well, yeah. So, yeah, I'm definitely glad to hear that after KK is essentially still the beginning of the game, because I still log in every day just to see what there is to do, and I've got projects in mind for things I want to do to my village, which obviously requires funds, which I'm pretty much solely relying on the stock market and turnips for money now.
Oh, really?
So my day-to-day in Animal Crossing has definitely slowed down, but I'm definitely still engaged every day.
I blew all my turnip money and didn't have much to invest this week.
What'd you blow it on? House?
Yeah, house upgrades.
Yeah.
I only have 2 more loans to pay off.
Nice.
Yeah, at least I think so, based on the Nook Miles program thing. But
Mike,
yeah,
where-
that's probably we'll check in on Mike. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, Mike, where are you at with Animal Crossing?
Oh, I'm in the same boat that everyone else is in. I've finished up the town hall. I've had KK. It's all been passed and everything now. It's
Okay.
terraforming.
I'm still
Yeah.
a 3-star town, which really kind of grinds my gears.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I guess you just have to decorate every inch of that town for
Yeah.
the rating to go up.
My friend's town and mine look really similar, in my opinion. My buddy Tyler, but his is a 4-star and mine's a 3-star, and I don't know what the difference
Maybe you're on the
is.
cusp of 4-star.
Yeah, I've got to be, but
My friend told me like he really didn't even do anything but plant a bunch of flowers and he got to 3 stars that way. Like he literally did nothing else.
yeah.
So
I think there might be like a part to like the value. Like with the Happy Home Academy, the more expensive stuff you put out in your house or the more rare, the better your score is going to be sometimes. So one of the ways to cheese that is to just put a bunch of super rare items out. And I'm thinking it might be the same kinda for the town. Like
Yeah.
I don't have any because I don't like the look of the like super rare stuff really. The stuff I like is like the wooden swinging bench and stuff.
how can you tell what's rare and what's not?
I mean, it's just like how many resources it takes to build it is how I would
Okay.
judge and the other way is just how much it costs. Like if you're
Okay.
buying it with bills, how much it costs because there are like a couple of items in the game that cost like over 1 million bills.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Can't wait to discover those.
Yeah, so there's like the combined like rarity. Like you better hope you happen to have 1 million bells the day it shows up in the shop.
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm staying pretty much on top of the stocks and stuff, and I've got friends who've got some pretty lucky days, so I've made quite a bit based off them. But yeah, I'm generally just keeping like 1 million, 2 million in my bank account at all times.
That's smart because you can just multiply it.
Yeah. But yeah, last week we started talking about some of these Nintendo rumors that have been going around. I say rumors, but they're pretty much confirmed at this point. Like they've been independently reported by so many different sites. It's one of those rumors that is technically a rumor, but it is for sure happening.
I'm still not sold on it happening because it's just so crazy.
Well, let's say what it is first. So, Nintendo is reportedly this fall releasing remasters of pretty much all of the 3D Marios. So that's Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, Super Mario 3D World. And I think, in addition to this, there's rumor that they're also going to release a new traditional Paper Mario this year. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Oh man.
Yeah, and that really just puts it over the top as unbelievable.
So just to reflect on this a little bit, Paper Mario is one of my favorite things ever. Like I've beaten the original like at least over 10 times, I would say. I played it so much as a kid. And Thousand Year Door built on that and was perfect in every way. And then all the Paper Mario games after that were kind of meh because they really stripped away some of the RPG mechanics I really liked.
See, I loved Super Paper Mario, and that's the only one I've ever played. Although I watched Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and I really liked that. I couldn't get into the first one. But, turn-based combat just doesn't do it for me.
Right.
We've talked about that before. I loved watching the Thousand Year Door. Like, I thought the story was fun and goofy. The world was amazing.
Yeah, the Paper Mario games have a sort of charm that really, I don't think Mario in any of its other forms captures. Like, Paper Mario has a very unique charm.
Yeah, the gameplay in Super Paper Mario was a little lacking, but it was like less grating to me than turn-based combat is.
Yeah,
because it's just like smoother. It's more like it just happens. You don't enter combat and then go to another screen and all that stuff that really bothers me.
Yeah, so maybe the rumors of it being more traditional Paper Mario aren't exciting you too much, but that really pumps me up because
I mean, I'd absolutely prefer a traditional Paper Mario to the garbage they've been spitting out since Super Paper Mario, like the sticker star and the color splash. Just because I know how much excitement that brings to people around me. Like I'll watch a Let's Play of it or something.
See, like if this being true is on the same level of, let's say, Xbox announcing a new Banjo-Kazooie game, that's how big of a deal this is to me.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I hope with all my being this is true.
I really hope it's true because I want the Mario remasters.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a sec. This really is unprecedented. Like, Mario has been the one franchise that Nintendo really hasn't been willing to go back and bring to newer consoles. Like, there are some exceptions, like they did Mario 64 for DS, right?
And they did Super Mario All-Stars. They brought all 3 of the originals, or 4, I guess, to the Super NES.
Yeah. And, like, more so than anything else. Even like their other legendary franchises, like even Zelda,
Well,
they've started bringing forward to modern consoles, right? Like the Wii U
but
had Twilight Princess,
they
and
also brought all the Mario games to the Game Boy Advance, all the 2D ones.
right. But I think I'm more concerned with the 3D Mario's,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
right.
like
I mean, that's what it's
those have
about.
pretty
Yeah,
much just been left untouched. And now to bring them all onto the Switch, if that's true, that's a huge deal. Especially because like I believe wholeheartedly each and every single one of those games still holds up 100% today.
yeah.
And
They've all aged incredibly well.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I still like to this day, I still fire up Super Mario Sunshine if I'm feeling beachy, and Super Mario 64 just because all the time. Like,
yeah. But before we get into each of those games individually, I was just going to comment that I think this is especially good. One, because the Switch is Nintendo's hottest console in a while, and two, a lot of people who maybe were too young to experience those games or just now becoming gamers are going to experience these phenomenal games for the first time. So I think like that combination of things is really potent. I think is really going to result in like Mario blowing up even more so than it has.
yeah. And I would love to just, I don't know, like, I just wonder how much of a remaster it's going to be, right? Because, like,
I think it's just going to be a resolution bump, and they'll call it a day. I don't
you
think they're
think
going to
so?
do too much. I mean, that's my gut feeling. I hope I'm
Because
wrong. I hope they do
they've
some more
never
work.
they've never really done that before. Like, I mean, when they did the last Super Mario All Stars, they redid the art for every game that they did, all the 2D games.
Yeah, I don't know.
And when they did Super
And that's
Mario
another
64
thing to
DS, they
consider.
redid all the assets. I mean,
Yeah, I was just gonna say 64 assets on a Nintendo Switch would look, pretty dated visually. Obviously, the
we've
gameplay
seen
would
what
be
that'll
there,
look
but
like. We've seen it in Mario Odyssey.
okay. Well, yeah. You mean you're talking about the skin, right?
Yeah, the polygon skin,
Yeah.
yeah. And it looked okay. Like, it wouldn't kill me to see that, but like the billboarding would be super obvious on the trees, and for those out of the know,
I mean,
billboarding is when a 2D sprite represents a 3D object like a tree, and
I mean, it
those.
it would be okay for people like you and me who have a nostalgia for it, right? But like, I wonder how acceptable like that polygonal style of the N64 era is today to people who are just now getting into it for the first time, you know?
But just I would really love like Super Mario Odyssey level controls
Well, I don't know
and
about that. Like,
visuals.
I kind of don't want them to touch the gameplay at all. Like, I think
I
3D
disagree
Mario had
strongly with
like a
Super Mario
unique.
Sunshine.
Okay, so Super Mario Sunshine is the one I think I have least experience with. So maybe you could talk a little more on that.
Yeah, the controls need like they're good. Like I have no problem going back and playing Super Mario Sunshine, but there's just a couple of things with the camera. Like basically Nintendo for a long time was afraid to let anybody touch that second stick. They just didn't want you to do it. They didn't know what they wanted to use it for or anything. And Super
It
Mario
was
Odyssey got over
called the
that.
It was called the C stick for camera, right?
Yeah, I know,
Originally
and they
supposed to be
didn't
meant
use it for
camera
that
control.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, they just didn't use it hardly in Super Mario Sunshine. Like the camera is just not good enough. And that's
Yeah.
the big thing that they could fix. But also like the controls when you enter the hover nozzle with flood are a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I really am struggling remembering too many details of Sunshine. I remember playing it and really liking it, but I didn't like rip through it like I did for 64, you know. I remember thinking that Flood was a little strange. Just like it was a weird mechanic, right? That
Oh
kind of
yeah, for
deviated
sure.
from the traditional platforming that we were used to.
Yeah, if I
But
could
like I
change
think it fit
anything,
I think it
yeah.
fit I liked how it fit into like the getaway tropical beachy theme, right? But like aside from that, I thought it was a strange addition.
Yeah, I mean I get where Nintendo's coming from. Like you see it from Nintendo's perspective. You're following up Super Mario 64 here. Like
Yeah.
one of the greatest games of all time. Maybe you're sitting there thinking like, well, I don't think we can do a better job, so we're gonna have to do something different, right? Like,
The Majora's Mask mindset.
Yeah, and I think they did a good job there. Like, Flood is fun at every point. The things about Super Mario Sunshine that bug me are the same thing that plagues most GameCube games, and that's that they clearly did not have enough time making them.
Yeah, GameCube, like so many GameCube games
Yeah,
were rushed,
I mean,
and like Super Smash Bros. Melee comes to mind. There's still so many clearly signs of unfinished work in that game.
yeah, and like Wind Waker and Sunshine both like have huge
Wind
swaths of
Waker's missing like 2 dungeons.
yeah, and Mario Sunshine, I think there are like 34 or something shine sprites that you get by collecting blue coins that are just kind of sprinkled everywhere.
Well, they sort
Like
of continued that design philosophy going forward, though, right?
they did, but there's only like 80 some real shine sprites in
And if we
Sunshine.
want to be really technical, that was kind of there in 64 as well. They had like the red coins you collected.
Well, you have red coins as well in Sunshine.
Mm.
And you also have 100 coin sprites. They just added this blue coin thing to it. And I don't hate the blue coins conceptually. What I hate is that, like, you have to go into the right mission in each level. Like, every blue coin is not available in every mission. Like, sometimes just completely random. Like, you can even get to the spot it would be, but you can't actually get it in this mission. So it's very difficult to collect them all without a guide, which I find annoying. I've never done it. There's the reward for getting all the shine sprites is actually pretty lackluster, so I've just never been compelled to do it.
And additionally, isn't Mario Sunshine considered by most to be the most difficult of the 3D Marios?
I can't imagine that's true.
Really?
I mean,
Okay.
it feels like it's super difficult compared to other 3D Marios.
Yeah, the controls are a little weirder, but like Flood is so forgiving. Like
I don't where the difficulty comes for that game. I don't think it comes from Flood. It comes from those levels where they suddenly take Flood away from you, and now you have to platform.
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
that does make it hard.
And especially, I think I was watching a Summoning Salt video, maybe? No, actually, this one wasn't Summoning Salt.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
probably
remember who
Average
it was.
Trey.
Yes, I think so. It was
Average
an
Trey, 'cause he
extremely
used to be the world record
extensive Super Mario Sunshine speedrunning documentary. And yeah, I don't know. They were like, I found it fascinating that speedrunners to this day were still finding ways to shave off time on Sunshine.
Another interesting thing about Sunshine is that it's totally linear, basically. Yeah, there are so few times that you can. Linear is maybe not the word.
Isn't there a hub world?
Yeah, there is a hub world. It's Delfino Plaza.
Right.
But there are so few times that you can skip a shine sprite. Like, you can skip the second one in the game, I think, and that is maybe it. Like, other than that, you have to do every world, like every shine sprite in that world in order.
Yeah.
And that's something I would kind of change because, again, there are a few places where you can actually get to the spot the shine sprite would be, but you can't actually do it. But they also, they tell a story in Sunshine more so than they did on 64. Like, every
Right.
shine sprite you go into, the world's a little bit different based on your actions in the previous. And that kind of justifies the way they kick you out of levels after you get a shine sprite and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I don't
now
know.
just
I wouldn't
talking
change
about it, more extensively, I can definitely see there's definitely an argument to be had about tweaking little things in each of these games. Like, what just came to mind for me was Galaxy, right? Like, Galaxy will definitely have to be tweaked because, like, before they had that gameplay mechanic with the pointer.
Yeah, and you can use a detached Joy-Con or even a Joy-Con in the little controller thing as a pointer. It has a gyroscope in it. You're just going to have to constantly be recentering it,
Yeah,
which isn't the end of the world in my opinion.
right.
And I think that'll be – I'm excited. I think I don't know. I'm really torn between Sunshine and Galaxy being the ones that'll benefit most from the HD treatment. Because Galaxy, I've done it. I've put it on. Don't call the cops on me, but I've emulated it on my PC, and you can actually Bluetooth a Wii Remote to your PC.
Yeah.
And I've just played it, normal Wii Remote controls, but at 1080p or 4K, I can't remember, and it looked stunning.
Yeah. No, I definitely think from a visual perspective, at least, like, the Galaxy games look the most fantastic, just graphically. Like, still to this day, I think they look gorgeous.
I agree. Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2 dropped the ball aesthetically, in my opinion.
So let's talk about that for a sec, because I think the rumors are all saying Galaxy 1, but not Galaxy 2. Are you guys seeing this too?
Yeah,
Or
and
am
I think that would be insane. Like,
Yeah, I feel like those two have to come together, especially because
yeah,
Galaxy 2
Galaxy 2 is an
it was
amazing
shocking
game to
because
just
like
drop by the wayside.
Galaxy 1 was a 10 out of 10 game, and then Nintendo came out with Galaxy 2, which was also a 10 out of 10 game.
Yeah.
Like that very rarely happens.
And what's weird is they're 10 out of 10, in my opinion, for vastly different reasons.
Yeah, I'm sure you could speak a little more to that. Just my personal history, I've put extensive time into Galaxy 1, but actually not too much time into Galaxy 2, so I would really enjoy a Galaxy 2 remaster.
Yeah, Galaxy 1 like had this beautiful atmosphere and everything, and like all the not all, a lot of the galaxies actually felt like little self-contained worlds.
Yeah.
And they dropped that completely in Galaxy 2. They don't even bother.
Right. No, yeah, I remember seeing like the level selector, and I remember feeling extremely disappointed because I really liked the world aspect,
but the level
planetary
design,
aspect.
Like Galaxy 2 and Super Mario 3D World are like same caliber level design. Like
Yeah.
Galaxy 2 might be a little higher. Like the Galaxy 2 level design was fantastic, and the challenge was good. I think. I don't know. I don't think I ever finished Galaxy 2. I can't remember. But that's because I'm compelled, like, I don't know. I like the little worlds. Like I remember so many galaxies from Super Mario Galaxy 1 that I just don't remember a single one from Galaxy 2.
Yeah.
Like the Good Egg Galaxy in Galaxy 1, the Beach Bowl Galaxy, the I forget what it was called, but it was the Hot and Cold Galaxy. Shiver Freeze Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember a ton of them because they were all like these little worlds with characters that lived there and stuff. Honey Hive Galaxy, that one's iconic.
Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on it and replay this because obviously my memories faded quite a bit.
The only thing is I don't think I mean I guess they could use the touch screen, but these games are going to be weird to play handheld.
Yeah. They'd have to make some design changes to make it work handheld for sure.
Because the pointer's pretty critical, especially in Galaxy 2.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, for sure, like, I think Sunshine and 64 could... I mean, they made 64 work handheld before.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Sunshine's only issue working handheld is the flood, like, pressure-sensitive... The Joy-Cons don't have pressure-sensitive shoulder buttons like the...
Right, the GameCube did. Yeah.
And I hope they let you hook a GameCube controller up and use the pressure-sensitive.
I mean, most Switch games I've seen have supported GameCube controllers, so...
Yeah, but a lot of it, they support
will.
it just inherently because the Switch just reads the GameCube controller as a USB controller.
Yeah.
So... the ones where they'd actually have to go out of their way to do it, I'm a little worried about.
But just thinking on the topic of pricing, I'm curious to think what Nintendo will do here, because I'm afraid they'll price each of them. What if they make each of them $60?
I wouldn't buy a single one.
I mean, I think Nintendo holds Mario in like really, really high prestige, right?
I think it's
Mario games rarely ever even go on sale.
I think it's far more likely it's going to be a $60 package for all of them.
Or maybe they package two of them together for $60. Packages of two. I'm just thinking through all different possibilities.
Yeah, if they did a 64 and Sunshine package and a Galaxy 1 and 2 package, I'd probably buy both.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, without question.
But I honestly think they're going to do a Super Mario 3D All-Stars and do all four. I mean, that's been what the rumor is. I'm pretty sure from what I've read is that it's all going to be one package.
Yeah, that's the ideal scenario.
And that, I mean, even if it's $80, like...
Yeah, but, like, what makes me think, though, is, like, I don't want to put my tinfoil hat on, but, like, I just have to wonder, do you think this was always part of the plan for this year?
I can't, you can't pull even a remaster, you can't just pull out of your hat. Like,
yeah,
these games have been in development for a while, so I don't know what you're saying. Like, are you suggesting that the pandemic had something to do with it? Like other games getting delayed?
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic's had an effect on several games that we know of already and several that we don't know of yet that will get announced in the coming weeks and months. But what I'm saying is that maybe Breath of the Wild 2 was scheduled for this year. And then, like, I almost feel like yes, they had these Mario games incubating, but what if they had like a break in case of emergency, button? And like if something happened, we could, pour more resources into these Mario games and have them come out. I don't know. Just a thought.
I
Probably not true.
If anybody was gonna make, like, I could almost see Nintendo remastering Mario 64 as preparation for Mario Odyssey, and Mario 64 was already done before this even started.
Yeah, and remember there were rumors that they had like all of Mario 64 and not Mario Odyssey and crazy stuff like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and like if any company was gonna do that, it's Nintendo. Like if any company would remaster one of their games start to finish and just sit on it, it's Nintendo. Like they've got the money, they've got, So on that front, maybe, but I'm not a believer. I don't think that they changed their plans to release this.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. It's just something to think about, I think. Just my mind wanders.
Yeah.
Now, another potential hypothetical. I think so this year is Mario's 35th anniversary, and that's kind of why they're saying they're doing this, right?
Yeah. Which 35 is kind of an arbitrary.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But next year is Zelda's 35th anniversary. Do you think we'll see something similar there? Culminating in perhaps the release of Breath of the Wild 2?
I think we'll get Breath of the Wild 2. I think that they had these remasters in the works, and 35 was just a good round number to release it on. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. 35 is just such an arbitrary. It's nothing, It's just
that does make you think. Like, why 35? Well, like just in terms of timing, right? 5 years ago, they'd be like beginning of Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, 5 years ago, I didn't care about Mario hardly.
Yeah.
Like it was new
5
Super
years
Mario
ago,
Bros.
Nintendo was kind of at a low point. I think
was Mario Maker 5 years ago? The first one, it might have been, and I was super hyped for that.
Mario Maker was a Wii U game, right?
Yeah, the first one,
Yeah.
And then Mario Maker 2 was on the Switch. Also, we're gonna get more Mario Maker 2 stuff this year.
I still haven't played Mario Maker 2.
Really?
That's something I gotta add to my list. Yeah.
It's super good, but it's such a weird game to sit down and play because there's not like a story or anything, Like,
I mean, you don't really need a story though. Especially
I know, but
Mario.
You can't, like, I don't feel like I'm making progress when I sit down and play Mario Maker 2. I got really into speed running my friends' levels. Like, my friend got popular enough that there were actually a large group of people playing his levels, and so it actually felt good to take the world record in them and keep them. And so I check in every once in a while and take those records back, and that feels like progress to me. Like, that's close enough that I'm like, oh, I'm getting good at this game. Like, I'm making meaningful progress. But like just sitting down and playing endless normal or endless hard, I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be like a certain mood strikes you, right? I feel like playing a Mario Maker level and seeing what's out there, community
created.
Make a
world
similar
of
to
difference.
Dreams, I guess.
Yeah, I also have trouble sitting down and playing Dreams. It'd make a world of difference if they implemented a map system in Mario Maker, like so people could make their own worlds and stuff for you to play through.
Yeah.
Even if it was like curated, like I didn't make any of these levels, but I put them in order as a world and put a boss at the end. Like
That's such a good idea. I feel like it's probably in the works for Mario Maker 3.
Yeah, I can't imagine they release another Mario Maker without that because people wanted it on this one.
Yeah.
And Little Big Planet did it.
Yeah. But just going back a little on the topic of companies changing their plans, gaming companies changing their plans due to the virus and all. I'm sure you guys saw Sony's put 2 of their games on an indefinite hold, The Last of Us Part 2 and Iron Man VR. And I'm sure more games will be announced as the release date comes. Like, I don't think Ghost of Tsushima is coming out this summer anymore. It's probably getting delayed as well.
I keep having to be reminded that Iron Man VR even exists. That's a game I should be really excited for, but I keep forgetting about it.
Yeah, and impressions for that have been really strong. Yeah, Mike. I mean, like, I wasn't shocked when I heard the news, like pretty much the entire world is shutting down. But it does make you think, right? Like, I think it's only a matter of time before we hear similar announcements from third parties. I mean, Nintendo really doesn't announce things too far in advance, right? So I think they'll just keep quiet and You know,
I mean, they've already announced it's affecting the Animal Crossing update, or it could affect
and
Animal Crossing
they already
updates.
announced it. It's affecting Smash.
Yeah, right.
Development on the fighter pack has been sort of delayed. So yeah, and that's just what we've heard, right? Who knows what other things behind the scenes have been
I'm
stalled.
surprised. Coronavirus is bad if it can stop soccer guy. Like,
Yeah, that's saying something.
It's serious. Yeah.
That man's like worked on an IV drip before. Madman.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gotten to the point where I wouldn't be too surprised if we hear PS5 and Xbox Series X are delayed as well.
I don't think that'll happen.
As of now, they're on track, but if we hear the news in the next month or two, I wouldn't be too surprised, honestly.
I would be pretty surprised because if it was going to happen, they would know now. Because like in a lot of places in the world, this has already really come to a head. It's the West where it's really just now.
The problem is in the West. I don't want to get too much into this, but like Dr. Anthony Fauci is saying with some degree of certainty that he thinks that this will come back in the fall, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. Things are definitely in a state of flux right now. Obviously, I would love for the consoles to come out this fall, but people have to do what's best and what's safe for everyone.
Yeah, I'd love for the world to return to some form of normalcy.
Some semblance of normalcy, yeah.
You know what? I'd ditch the whole console generation for that, if I'm being honest.
I mean, I think we all would,
Yep.
This is a pretty unprecedented time we live in.
Yep.
But yeah, just speaking of Sony and Microsoft's next-gen plans, Sony just randomly on a Tuesday, as it seems like they've been doing, has dropped some pretty substantial news. They revealed their controller, and normally I don't think that would be too big of news, right? But like this controller, they're calling it the DualSense, and it marks a significant departure from the previous 4 generations of controller. I mean, it's not radically different or anything, but definitely marks the biggest departure in my opinion.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, so it's got kind of a strange color scheme, right? Like, and I'm sure like there'll be all sorts of colors available later on, but the one they showed, at least, it was like white, black, and blue. And I wonder if that's like indicative of what the console will look like ultimately.
I feel like it has to be.
Yeah, I think it must as well.
Like, you can't sell that with a black console. That wouldn't look right. Like,
but
I have one major complaint. I'm gonna get that out there quick.
Yeah.
They put the light bar on the front this time.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Who was sitting here and saying, "Man, I wish this bright light would shine in my eyes more often"?
So I have a couple of notes on that. So one, the light bar I think is a lot less prominent than it was on the PS4, right? Because like on the back of the PS4 controller, it was like it was like basically the entire back.
Yeah.
This, it just seems like the rim cutout of the touchpad is the light bar.
I'm guessing that's still good enough for PSVR to pick it up.
So that's another thing. I don't know if it is.
Because the only reason to keep the light bar is PSVR.
Well, I was going to go into the fact that I've seen that a lot of games, mostly first party, but I've seen third parties do it as well, have used that light bar to do different things. Granted, none of it was necessary. All of it was extraneous.
All of it was terrible. I hate
it was
that.
like
if I'm
like
sitting here playing
some games like indicated your health, like it turned like redder or whatever.
Yeah, but you usually, I guess they're changing that now, but right now I can't even see it most of the time, and when I can, it's like blinding me because I'm playing games in the dark. And
yeah, and I'm sure this light won't be excessively bright because that would just be stupid. Like people wouldn't be able to see. So I'm sure it's just like a light LED. But I do agree that I don't think it's needed unless it's needed for PSVR.
Yeah, it's a stupid way to inflate the cost of the controller unless it's for PSVR. And in that case, sure.
Just talking about the cost of the controller, like the guts of this controller seem a little more substantial than we've had before. We've got like the haptic triggers and like
it's Joy-Con level basically.
Yeah.
I expect this controller to be $80.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Nintendo always seems to charge a premium, but
yeah.
I don't believe I was actually having an argument with Jordan about whether or not the Switch was sold at a markup, and
I'm sure that information's, well, I don't know, Nintendo ninjas and all. Maybe that isn't available.
Yeah, I looked at some teardowns, and this was conclusive. Like we looked at some teardowns, and the answer is no. They don't make money on Joy-Cons.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of that, the HD Rumble, they don't have the patent on that. That actually belongs to another company, so they're losing quite a bit there
Yeah. And
on
I think
licensing that. But
Yeah, I think the most exciting feature for me for this controller are the triggers. And I think Xbox is doing the same thing, but like the pressure sensitive triggers I think are really cool and can add a neat level of immersion to like different kinds of games.
yeah, there was when the Steam controller first did that, there was like a ton of push, like, you know, a soft pull on the trigger is aim down sights, a full pull on the trigger is fire. I don't
Yeah.
think that really works. It never worked for me. I don't have that kind of sensitivity in a fast-paced shooter.
Well, at least for this controller, I know they're doing like programmable resistivity. Like
That's
for
cool.
instance, like developers can have the, for like the R2 trigger be harder to press down if like something's happening, like you're making a tough choice in the game or something. And
That's
like,
so cool.
yeah. So like I think that has some like serious untapped potential for like immersive things that we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, I mean, that's something Kojima's going to go crazy with.
Oh, absolutely. Kojima goes all in on like the gimmicks and additions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which incidentally, I don't know if you saw, but Kojima recently said he wants to make like the greatest horror game ever made or something like that.
Yeah.
Which
Well, good luck.
yeah. I mean, he made PT, which was one of the
Yeah,
most
it was
terrifying
good.
experiences I've ever had.
Yeah,
So I think he has it in him. But
Horror games are complicated art. We should probably do an episode on horror games sometime.
yeah, I would love to. I've been getting more into horror games actually over the past 2 or 3 years. Like
There
before,
are so
I didn't
few
play them
good
at all.
ones.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any more to say about the controller, really?
Well, I don't know. I think just to compare it to Xbox, and then Connor, we can get into your other discussion that you wanted to go into. But
It does
I-
look a lot like an Xbox controller.
Yeah,
I've seen
like-
a lot of people saying that. And
I think-
that's fine to me. Like, I've heard a lot of complaints that PlayStation controllers are too small for people's hands.
yeah, I agree. I generally like Xbox's controller better. I think, and that being said, I think this controller being more shaped like an Xbox controller is a positive. I think that'll make it even better than a DualShock 4, and I was pretty fine with the DualShock 4 because it was much bigger than the DualShock 3. But yeah, I'm excited to see, like, I think the controllers are largely similar this time around, and I saw on Twitter that like they changed the share button to a create button, which
Yeah,
is
and they were making a
essentially
big
the same
deal out
thing
of it.
probably.
Yeah, it's-
And then
yeah.
Xbox responded with like just showing off their share button on their Xbox controller, and I thought that was kind of like a fun little cheeky interaction.
I have never pressed that button on purpose, ever.
I've pressed it a couple times, but never to share with anyone, just to save clips of my own.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've pressed the one on the Switch a few times, the screenshot button.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is one function totally missing from both of these controllers. Oh, it has a built-in microphone. That's significant.
Yeah, that too. So you don't necessarily have to have headphones to like talk to your friends in a party, though you should, like
Yeah,
otherwise
and-
it's gonna be obnoxious.
And what that brings in is, why do controllers not have a dedicated push-to-talk button in 2020? Like, just put it a back paddle or something, like somewhere, a push-to-talk button. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear your, I don't use push-to-talk a ton on PC, specifically because, like, I live alone in a quiet apartment.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't want to hear your brothers and sisters fighting in the background. I don't want to hear your dog barking. I don't want to hear, like, push-to-talk is not a complicated thing.
Yeah, that's kind of a great point. I wonder why that hasn't been implemented yet.
And it's just one button. Like, how expensive could that be to add to a controller when you're going to have a dumb light pasted to the front of it,
Yeah. And I feel like it can't be added now. Like, it can't just be software patched in because, like,
No,
there's
it's
no
too-
dedicated button for it.
yeah,
Like,
you can't
every
take a button away from a
usually
game.
does something in a game, right?
Yeah. And it's such an important feature that I hate that games don't have, especially if you're going to put a mic built into the controller. You know how many kids are going to be in multiplayer games without their mic muted.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Yeah.
dedicated push to talk. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I care so much about push to talk. I usually sacrifice one of my Steam controller buttons to it. Like, it's
Yeah,
so
I mean,
important.
there's still so much left unsaid about PS5 and Xbox Series X. Like, I'm sure. I don't want to say I have confidence that that feature's in, but like there's so much we don't know. There's definitely reason to hope that maybe they'd add it this time around.
Yeah. And it's something that could theoretically be added in aftermarket controllers. Like, they could literally just mute the mic unless you're pressing a button. But,
Yeah.
It wouldn't have to have any software at all. It could just be a hardware revision. So it could come at any time. But let's hope it does.
So Connor, you were mentioning before we recorded that you're seeing some I guess console warring, and that's been bothering you lately. You want to expound on that a little?
So I followed on Twitter gave me a topic to follow, and I fell for it. I guess I would say it said game developers and publishers. And I was like, oh, I love reading tweets and stuff from game developers and or publishers. And so I followed it. That's not what it is. It's all other people talking about game developers and publishers. And so all it's been for the past 2 weeks is these just totally uninformed people with hundreds of thousands of retweets and likes talking about the next gen consoles. How, oh yeah, Xbox sure their numbers are high, but in practice they'll never reach those numbers because of the variable
The PS5's variable.
Yeah.
Variable.
Yeah, the
clock.
PS5 has the variable clock speed and the Xbox Series X doesn't. And the people are saying that because Xbox Series X doesn't have a variable clock, it'll never actually reach the numbers. But when in reality the opposite is true. The Xbox Series X will always reach its numbers. And the PS5 will not. And I'm not going to sit here in console war because the way I see it, the Series X is going to be the more powerful machine. The PS5 is almost definitely going to have the better games.
Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assessment.
And to look at it any other way, you're just uninformed at this point.
So Connor, let me shed some light on this for you a little bit. I know since you're primarily a PC gamer that seeing this must be frustrating and you're probably wondering why this is even happening. This happens all the time. Every time there's a new console generation. It's a tale as old as time of fanboys and console warriors just sniping at each other.
See, I think I'm just now seeing it because I just now followed that game developers and publishers thing on Twitter because I'm not huge on social media. But yeah, it's been brutal. And I know what you're talking about. I remember back in the day people talked about how I remember back in the day, Xbox 360 days, people on the internet would say Xbox 360 was better than PC because Microsoft could patch their graphics card to be better. I remember that was the kind of uninformed garbage I was seeing back then. But that was back when I was in high school or middle school.
Well, there are new high schoolers and middle schoolers to take your place.
I know. And apparently they have massive followings on Twitter.
Well, that's the thing. I've noticed the sort of, I guess, influencers and journalists that are associated with video game publishers / developers are a lot of the time a lot louder than the developers / publishers themselves, right? So they actually have an insane amount of influence. If they blow up a game, that could make the difference of it selling really well or not. So, and I don't know how we can fix this if this even is a problem, right? But that's the way things are. The developers
it's
are mostly
a personal problem for me. I hate it.
Developers, I think, typically are heads down. They just get their work done and aren't too active on social media or anything like that. But the journalists and influencers are hungry for any scrap of news and anything that leaks out or anything that might not even be true, but seems it might be true gets blasted over a megaphone.
And that speaks to the bigger disconnect I think in the industry that I don't really like. It's not so big in the indie space, but developers are afraid to talk about their games, which means every time a developer does talk about their game in development, people latch on to the info like it's gospel. And then if it changes, people get really angry, which leads to developers not wanting to talk about their game. It's a vicious cycle, kind of.
Which sucks because software inherently changes all the time.
Yeah, it has to. Yeah, Amit and I are both software developers by trade. And yeah, I mean, a product can be totally different by the week sometimes. Like, it's,
Yeah, in
yeah.
yeah, like in video games are not exempt from that. Video games are software, and I know it's tough, like especially like in E3 at E3 for example, when you get a vertical slice and it looks like the best thing ever made, and then there's no way the actual game can live up to that. I think that speaks to a larger problem in the industry itself that a lot of times it's concerned with how the game looks more so than how the game is,
And
which is
even
unfortunate.
another issue is a lot of gamers don't understand fun super well. And I'm not like saying that like from a holier than thou stance. I mean, like a lot of these features that look really fun in practice aren't. And so the developer just cuts them thinking nobody's going to miss them, you know?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't fun. Like the playtesters hated it. The developers didn't like working on it. Like, so it just got cut. Like a lot of that stuff happens and gamers don't understand that a lot of the time. They just saw this thing that looked cool and they didn't get it. And so they're angry.
Yeah. I do like to think that I think this problem is getting slightly better, especially as like there's more transparency with this sort of thing. Like a lot of developers are coming out and saying like these things that like, hey, it's a fluid process. Like we're gonna show you every step of the way and stuff like that.
There's also
But
a lot more people just seeing how hard it is to make a game with tools like Unity and Dreams.
I think
Like,
that idea is definitely percolated more through like the social conscience. Like before it'd be like, why can't you do this? Why can't you do Y? But like a lot of times, like now people are getting their hands on with these same sort of tools and trying to see how they could do it themselves and realizing, oh wait, this is like, like a year's worth of effort or more or something like that.
of course, it makes me even angrier when like the gamers are right. Like in the case of Animal Crossing, there's just a bunch of buck wild restrictions for no reason. Like
Or
what you can do in multiplayer in Animal Crossing.
yeah, Animal Crossing multiplayer is kind of rough.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
And like just
Very
the menu,
frustrating.
like bad menu design, like there's no excuse for bad user interface. User interface is a pain to make, but it's not technically difficult. So like,
And also, I feel like there's so many UI/UX like specialists now. You could
yeah,
probably
there's no excuse
find
for how
someone.
many menus you have to go through to send a letter in New Horizons. There's just not.
Yeah.
Like, and there's no excuse for not being able to multi-craft or access your storage while crafting. Like,
Or the
little
fact
stuff
that,
like
like,
that. Yeah,
you
there's no excuse.
no one on the island can be in a menu if someone's coming to your island.
Oh yeah,
It's just
and
like-
the fact that you have to watch a cutscene, like
Yeah.
it's that long as somebody joins the game, like having to pause the game for a moment to sync everybody up. Sure, you got me there, maybe, but like an over a minute long, like having to wait for
Yeah.
their game to load. No, you don't need that.
Yeah, yesterday actually, like my friend, he had like turnips selling for like 450 bells on his island, and as
Oh,
soon as he
God.
opened the gates,
You
it
probably
took
had
like
gridlock. Yeah.
10 plus minutes for us to even move, because like constant, like people were flying in, and we had to watch the little cutscenes and stuff like that.
Yeah. And times like that, it's even more frustrating to me because that's a time when gamers are right. Like they see that, they call it nonsense, and like maybe that will get fixed. And then like, oh well, if you can fix it here, why don't you fix it there? And it's very hard from a non-software background to see the stuff
Yeah.
that is crazy and should be fixed and the stuff that's not. And even
True.
from a software background, like I don't know what kind of legacy code they're working with in Animal Crossing. I say if they're working with this legacy code that is inherently flawed, they should replace it. But I don't know what kind of, spaghetti is in there.
Yeah, I mean, and just going off that hypothetical, like they probably looked at it and considered that option and being like, hey, it's not worth the resources it'll take to do that. So,
Yeah, because I'll say
all
these menus
sort of
look
decisions have
identical to
to-
the ones on the Nintendo DS. So I find it incredibly likely that the Animal Crossing engine has not been replaced since then and has just been updated and brought forward.
Yeah.
So,
Are you guys ready to get into what you've been playing?
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, sure.
I'm ready.
Mike, why don't you go first?
I've actually been playing. I gotta look through my Steam library. I've been playing like a variety of games, but have I talked about Planet Coaster yet?
I think you talked about Planet Zoo.
I talked about
yeah.
Planet Zoo. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna expand on my Planet Zoo by talking about Planet Coaster because they're the same game with different coats of paint. Really, one's a zoo game, the other one's not. And
That tracks.
yeah, it's very customizable. Like, I've never been so excited to make a king breathe fire out of its mouth. Like, it's so easy just to do something crazy. Like, I made a whole statue in a matter of like 20, 30 minutes.
So what does
That
this have
looked-
to do with roller coasters, though?
I
Just
mean,
curious.
you can do anything.
It's just a theme park, right?
Yeah,
like
it's a
that's
theme
the
park. I built
Okay,
an
yeah,
entire
yeah.
cave around this roller coaster. Like, it was like in previous roller coaster games, building any sort of thing underground was super hard. But this just felt intuitive and natural. Like, everything in that game feels really intuitive to build with. And it's just a blast.
Yeah, I remember like when I was little, I lost several days to Roller Coaster Tycoon and really loved those games. And you're saying like this is like an evolution of that, right?
Yeah, it's
Made by the same people.
it's imagine if you played Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and there were no technical issues and anything you could build is possible.
That's a pretty bold claim.
Like, they even include like primitive shapes so you could build whatever you want out of them.
wow. So like 3D modeling level building, basically.
Yeah. And
that's really
there's
cool.
a mechanic to import 3D models into the game.
Jeez. Okay.
So they have everything covered.
Definitely. I feel like that's extreme for a theme park, like management game, but like that's awesome.
That's what Roller Coaster Tycoon evolved into.
Yeah.
Because it transcended theme park management into, I'm going to build the greatest looking theme park possible. You
Sweet.
saw bits and pieces of that in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
I have not played any of these games. I've had a mild interest in them since I was a kid, but I've never played a tycoon game.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how they'd hold up if I went back. Like the one distinct memory I have is like all my guests like puking after they went on like my roller coasters and like me having to clean up the puke. That's like
I
the
remember
only
drowning
that's like the
people in
only
Roller
thing I
Coaster
remember.
Tycoon 1. I did a lot of drowning in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. A lot of it. It's the most optimal way to run a park.
Optimal. Jeez.
I ran that park like the USSR. Any political opponents were silenced.
All right, Connor, what have you been playing?
I've been playing an awful game this week called it was
great.
free on Epic Game Store. It's
I
called
too have an awful game, so yeah, awesome.
Totally Reliable Delivery Service, I think it's called. And I saw that it was free on Epic Games, and I pulled it down, and I was like, man, I've never heard of this. I wonder why. And I looked at the trailer, and I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a mix between like kind of Human Fall Flat crossed with Overcooked maybe.
That sounds fun on paper.
Yeah, and I pulled it down, and it's just not any good at all. I probably played 4 hours of it because I got Gabby to get on and play with me. And it has all these great mechanics, like just phenomenal. Like all the vehicles are super fun to drive around, and like the physics are wonkier than they should be. Like it's really easy to get stuck in stuff, which is really annoying. But the actual objectives in the game are just the most boring thing in the world. Like I expected it to be this chaotic thing where like you would have to work together with your teammates and stuff to deliver these packages. Like maybe you'd have to like do a triathlon sort of thing where like, oh, you have to start in a helicopter and, you know, keep the package in the helicopter and then maybe drop your friend out of the helicopter and they're going to have to land in a boat and drive the boat through a cave to get something. No, it's really not. It's 90% of the time it's load the package into your car, drive to the location, take the package out and put it in the box with the occasional helicopter or forklift mission. I didn't find a single mission that required a plane, even though there were planes everywhere and they were super fun to fly. There were like rocket cars all over the place that were super hard to fly, but really fun. And like I can't even imagine trying to keep a package in them, but not a single mission used them. Like they built this fun sandbox and then slapped a bunch of lazy missions on it. It was terrible.
That's lame.
And even despite that, like because the vehicles are so much fun, me and Gabby played for a couple hours just like trying out the different vehicles. And like we found an amusement park that literally like the way you control vehicles in this is that there are just joysticks on it. And like, you know how you control your hands in Human Fall Flat?
Yeah.
Like you literally just go up and grab these joysticks and control them that way. And there's like a whole amusement park where you could actually drive all the rides. So like you could have your friend get on and control the speed and everything. And that was like that was a super fun idea, but there's nothing to do with it, you know? Like you do it for 30 seconds and it's done. So it just really, I think it might actually be early access. I couldn't tell. It definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna say like this sounds a lot like it's unfinished.
But there were not one, but 2 DLCs for this game.
Hilarious.
And let me tell you, I got this game for free and had some fun with it. Had I paid $15 for this, it would have been an instant refund. And the idea that you could not only have paid $15 for this game, but wanted to spend additional money on it is incredible to me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, I don't want to roast the devs too hard because like the fundamentals were super, super fun. But this is not a game that like has any place being $15.
Yeah.
Like
hence you got it for free. So
yeah, but it was free on Epic Game Store. It is the worst game I've ever seen free on Epic Game Store by far. Because those are usually fantastic games like Subnautica and like.
Oh wow, they gave away Subnautica.
They gave away Batman. They gave away the entire Batman Arkham series.
Yeah.
Like,
that sounds like the only experience I have with like free game giveaways is PlayStation Plus, and they typically have fantastic games as well. So I'm surprised to hear someone giving away games of that caliber.
Yeah, the Epic Game Store gives away very good games and also totally reliable delivery service.
Right.
That said, I would totally, it's still free, and if anybody wants to, jump in and goof around, you will have fun for a little bit. Like, I can almost
I think that's all you
game.
Yeah, that's all you could ask out of a free game, I think.
Yeah, but you will not have
fun.
Like any compulsion to do any of the deliveries. And it doesn't even like have a system to take you from delivery to delivery, really. It's like you finish one delivery and it marks a random one close to you on the map. So like I did like 2 or 3 forklift driving ones in a row. And like it was clearly like it felt like it was teaching me and building up to something. And then suddenly it's like, okay, get in the helicopter. And I get in the helicopter, and obviously you're getting in a helicopter. The delivery is going to be on the other side of the map because you're flying really fast. I do that, and then I get out, and like it drops the helicopter, it drops the forklift until like half an hour later or something. I got another forklift mission, and suddenly the forklift missions, like clearly I've missed 20 or 30 of them because this is extremely difficult to do, and like it just doesn't. They didn't bother,
Yeah.
I don't know. Wouldn't recommend you pay for it, but it's free. This game's on consoles too, which is just incredible to me. You can get this game on the Nintendo Switch.
Like the floodgates have really been open for like the console digital storefronts. Like it's no longer the case where like shovelware games are only on Steam. They're everywhere now. Like PlayStation, Xbox, Switch. Like
see, that's what hurts about this game is it doesn't even feel like shovelware. It feels like the people making it cared and like had a good idea, and just like got all the way to the end and started making content and couldn't do it. And I'll be honest, I know how that feels. Like making content is the hardest part of game development to me.
Yeah.
But it's not there.
That's a shame. All right. So I changed my mind just listening to you talk. So I was originally going to talk about this mobile game I've been playing. But I don't want to.
MapleStory M, right?
Well, you'll have to wait to find out because I'm not going to talk about it this week. So just incidentally, I've been playing so many more games since this whole pandemic started, right? Because like, what else is there to do, really?
Yeah.
But so I've I've dabbled a lot in things I normally wouldn't dabble in, such as these mobile games that I'll talk about at some point in the future. But the game I want to talk about today is Life is Strange 2.
Oh, don't spoil anything.
I won't spoil anything. But I have been playing this game with my sisters, and we've completed episode 3 out of 5 episodes, right? So there's 2 left, and
it's about time for the quality to drop.
Well, let's hope it doesn't. But
yeah, no,
I gotta say,
games, in my experience, 4 and 5 are usually.
Donut is, I think, unmatched at what they do. Like no one can create a vibe like Donut can. I don't think.
So, is Life is Strange 2 totally different characters from Life is Strange 1?
It's completely different.
Okay. Because I loved Life is Strange 1.
Yes,
up until
I did too.
Last bit.
Yeah, I mean, Life is Strange 1 still holds like extremely high esteem with me. Like,
Oh yeah,
definitely one of my top games.
I played
Hey.
Undertale and Life is Strange back to back, and that was like a very emotional time for me.
Yeah.
I
But
thought you were supposed to be talking about a bad game.
no, Mike, I changed my mind listening to Connor talk. So I'm talking about the bad game next week.
Are you saying
Okay.
my bad game review was a bummer?
I don't know what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that I changed my mind, and I'm not quite sure why.
Okay.
But yeah, Life is Strange 2, completely new setting, new characters with some ties to the original, right? So like you'll get some satisfaction out of little moments if you played the first one, but if you haven't, no big deal. You can still jump into it. And I mean, what is there to say other than that? Like it's got that signature like don't nod melancholic / nostalgic vibe to it. I will. Yeah, go ahead.
They have a mastery of that. Like,
Yeah.
I can't
I
even
will-
explain it.
I will say that I think so far it was stronger in Life is Strange 1, but that is not to take away anything from Life is Strange 2 because I think this game's still fantastic so far.
How's
And-
the like vocabulary in it? Because I remember the word
Yeah,
hella
yes.
a lot in Life is Strange, and like
Uh,
it didn't
it's-
destroy the game for me. A
it's-
couple of times, Chloe said "Be kind" or "Rewind" too many times, and I almost turned the game off.
yeah. No, it's still got some of that like teenage cringy dialogue. I think it has less.
It's
than the
almost
first one.
charming most of the time.
Yeah. It's still. I mean, it's got some of that in here. But what I'm driving at actually is that this game so far is so much more of a downer than the first one.
Really,
Yeah, it's a
That's
very
a lot.
sad story.
that's tough.
At least the first 3 episodes I've gone in, right? And
Because
I mean,
there's one scene in Life is Strange 1 that like killed me inside. Like,
yeah, and I don't know, like obviously your mileage will vary how much you attach to these characters and all of that, but like to me, I definitely feel like so far this is a much more somber story. And it's set in I think in like 2016, and it's not afraid to go some places that are really, like, hot button political issues. Like you play as, so I'm not going to spoil too much, Connor. I know how sensitive you are to this, but the protagonists are these brothers, right? These older brother, younger brother, and they're the sons of immigrants, right? And there's a huge component, like it's 2016, right? So they're experiencing like these racial tensions and like build the wall and all of this, and like that's just one small part of what feeds into this game. And like the game, basically, from what I can see so far, is the brothers trying to basically escape tragedy and like make their way in this changing world, a world that's changing for the worse, honestly. And I think because it goes those places, like it goes into places that the first game wouldn't dare go into. I think like the first game.
you're right. The first one was more of a teen coming of age.
Like a lot more mature themes being looked at, more pressing themes, like especially if you're a minority, like you definitely can relate to some of the things these brothers go through. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how the story ends. I hope things get happier at this point, because it's tough, because like the game does the thing of like the brothers are finally settling into something, they finally think they see a light at the end of the tunnel, and then suddenly the bottom is pulled out from under them and they fall even deeper than they were before.
yeah, it's like straight out of series of unfortunate events. Like,
Yeah. So, and obviously like it has the signature Life is Strange, like one of the brothers, I won't say who, has like powers, much like Max in the first game. Well, the powers aren't like Max, but
yeah,
he has powers, right? I won't say what they are or anything, but like him trying to deal with that and keep that secret, and like all these things come together and make a pretty unforgettable experience so far, by my estimation. Yeah, it's just I think it's a worthy sequel so far. I think taken as a whole, I think it might be because of my insane nostalgia for the first game, but I think I prefer the first game still. But like, again, not to take anything away from this game, I also think this game is brilliant. And obviously, everything could change after I finish the last 2 episodes. Maybe this game will be significantly better or worse. But yeah, I know, Connor, you're a huge fan of Life is Strange. Like, do you have any desire to check this one out?
I do, yeah. I'm actually looking at how much it is on Steam right now. I got the original for like $6, so
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to pay $40 for this one.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go on sale.
Yeah, I mean, it's Square Enix, isn't it? So like their games go on sale
Yeah.
constantly.
But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this story ends. And let's hope it's on a positive note.
Yeah. Have you played any more?
No, I know. Final Fantasy is currently on hold. So many games to play, right? Animal Crossing came out and sort of took over my life.
You hit the part, I think, where Final Fantasy 15 kind of takes a downturn, so...
I mean, I just reached the first town.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah. So
No, you're still in the very good part of the game.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, all of us can relate to this problem, but
Yeah,
there are
too
so
many
many good
games
games.
to play, yeah.
So many good games to play.
Oh,
But-
I finished Doom Eternal. I don't know
nice.
if I mentioned that.
No, last time you talked about it, you were still like playing it, I think.
Yeah, fantastic game. Amazing shooter, terrible platformer. All I have to say. I'm probably going to do another playthrough on the hardest difficulty,
Nice.
which is not something I typically do, but like I think I mentioned it when I talked about it as a game I've been playing. Like the Marauder is not a very fun enemy to me, but everything else about that game, like there are a couple like giant enemies that are super hard, and like I was getting super frustrated every time they'd show up. And at no point were those enemies made easier. They just kept throwing enemies, like, they just kept getting bigger enemies, and the smaller ones became, like, normal until the point where, like, all of them were just, you had to just shrug it off because you did not have time to complain about them anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you hit that flow and you're just like, oh, there's a giant enemy. I'm just going to have to shoot a bunch of rockets at it, I guess. That's my only option.
Yeah, Doom Eternal is another one, and like I don't even own it yet, and obviously it's on my radar. It's just
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
straight
know.
up. I can't recommend like Doom Eternal, Titanfall 2. As far as first-person shooter campaigns, they're on a totally
Yeah.
different level. Like I would
Yeah.
say, of all the first-person shooter campaigns I've played in my life, those are the only 3 worth playing. Like I don't like. I'm just not.
not a big
super
Halo
into-
fan.
I've been playing the Master Chief Collection and I just don't care. I really am not enjoying those games. I hate to say it, but
I think at the time they were pretty big, the campaigns for those games. Because I distinctly remember in middle school the whole finish the fight thing. There was so much hype around that.
yeah, I know, and I really wish I could have been into it. I'm gonna give them more chances because I should like Halo. What's weird is I play Halo and I'm expecting like Doom action every time. I guess.
Yeah, you're not gonna get that in Halo for
I
sure.
don't. Yeah, and like Doom's difficulty is so much better than Halo's difficulty, in my opinion. Halo likes to just like crank up enemy health. Like I don't know. I think Doom does too. It just feels better to shoot an enemy more in Doom than it feels in any other game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, with that perspective at least. Like a lot of people have the nostalgia for Halo, and that puts that, much higher. But it's interesting seeing it from your perspective, going through Halo after Doom.
Yeah, like I see what Doom did for the first person, or see what Halo did for the first person shooter. I obviously also see what Doom did,
Yeah.
and I think it's important, but I don't enjoy the games very much. I enjoyed Halo 4, and I'm not enjoying Halo 1, and I think that's blasphemy to a Halo fan.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, but especially if you feel the same after 2 and 3, I think that's even more.
See, I haven't had a
Just-
chance to play 2 and 3,
Yeah.
so. But yeah, Doom Eternal, very good. Top 3 first-person shooters I've ever played, easily, campaign-wise. The multiplayer I hear is trash. I haven't even touched it yet, but
Awesome. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you for listening to this episode. You can follow us at Podcast Game Talk on Twitter. You can join our Discord by clicking the link in the description of this podcast. Please like, rate, and review us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
bye guys.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Guys.